What the hell is wrong with you? We're a family!
This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Be sure to subscribe and help get this video to 2,000 likes. Caillou's parents bring Rosie home from the hospital. Caillou is excited to meet his newborn sister for the first time, until his parents start giving her all their affection. Rosie is less than a week old, and already Caillou's parents know she's the good child. Caillou is mad he's no longer the center of attention, and sets out to make Rosie's life a living hell. He trashes his own doll because it reminds him too much of his sister. Sexist much?
Being sexist is wrong, and being wrong is for women.
Daddy stupidly asks his 2.5-year-old son if he wants to hold the baby. Caillou yells in Daddy's face, which somehow doesn't lead to an instant ass-whooping. Daddy makes the grave mistake of leaving baby Rosie alone for 2 seconds, as Caillou puts his dastardly scheme into action. He tricks Rosie into thinking he likes her and then promptly pinches her until she cries. Geez, even DW never went that far.
If that back row pinch you!
Rosie cries her head off as Caillou refuses to stop pinching her until Daddy rips her from his arms. Daddy scolds his son for the first time in his life, which isn't very effective when your voice has all the cadence of Mr. McFeely's bottom bitch.
Why did you do that to Rosie?
Your voice sounds stupid!
Caillou shows no remorse for torturing his baby sister, proudly proclaiming he doesn't like her. Instead of grounding Caillou for the rest of his life, Daddy tries to reason with the balding bad seed. Caillou says he hates his sister because she doesn't want to play, even though he's made it clear up till now he was jealous of all the attention she was getting. Daddy tells Caillou it's his duty as a big brother to protect his defenseless little sister. Rosie, you poor bastard. Daddy indirectly punishes Caillou by making him help change Rosie's diaper, since clearly every member of this family is full of shit. Also, how did he change her diaper without taking off her onesie? The world may never know. Caillou brags to Mommy that he helped change Rosie, even though he barely did a damn thing. Mommy proves she's just as stupid as Daddy and allows the bratty baby to hold his sister. Caillou remarks how good Rosie smells, which makes me nervous about what Caillou thinks they're having for dinner. Let's review. Caillou got jealous of his newborn baby sister because he was no longer the center of attention. He decided he hated her and set out to torture her until she cried. And even when he got caught, he was only punished with a slap on the wrist, ensuring Rosie's childhood will be a formidable hell. FU Caillou. Caillou is banging on his toy drums when his mom tells him to knock that shit off. Baby Rosie needs to take a nap, but Caillou wants to play. Caillou's mom tells him to play quietly. Caillou says fuck that and dumps his Legos all over the floor. Caillou decides to make cookies after looking at a blank book. Caillou goes to the kitchen right when the acid kicks in. Caillou tries to grab the honey pot off the top shelf and knocks everything onto the floor. He makes the mess worse with his half-baked, half-assed honey cookies. Caillou gets caught by his mom and starts crying like a little bitch. Instead of sending Caillou to his room, his mom rewards his bad behavior by making him cookies after she does 90% of the cleanup. The next day, Caillou takes full credit for making the cookies and gleefully makes an even bigger mess like the little shit he is. Let's review. Caillou was as loud and obnoxious as possible despite his mom's objections. He tried to make cookies unsupervised and ended up trashing the whole kitchen. And even after he got caught, his mother did nothing to punish him, ensuring he'll grow up to be an even louder and messier psychopath. FU Caillou. Caillou is scared of his next-door neighbor and tries hiding in his mom's humongous ass. Mr. Hinkle tries to say hello, only for Caillou to run off like a total pussy. Mr. Hinkle goes to apologize to Caillou, even though he did nothing wrong.
I don't like him.
He doesn't like you either, bitch. Caillou refuses to be in the same room with his neighbor, so Mr. Hinkle turns it into a game of hide-and-seek, which ironically makes him seem way creepier than before. Caillou gets caught up in the game and eagerly jumps into his neighbor's arms, proving he was stupid to be scared of him in the first place. Let's review. Caillou feared his neighbor for no good reason and went out of his way to avoid him. He hurt Mr. Hinkle's feelings and refused to make friends with him until he realized he liked being chased and caught by older men. But I'm sure that won't affect Caillou's future in any way, shape, or form. FU Caillou. Caillou hates vegetables almost as much as I hate Caillou. His parents tell him he can't go to the park until he finishes his broccoli. Caillou says fuck that and sneaks off to eat cookies instead. Grandpa shows up to take Caillou to the park, and Caillou tells his vegetables to rot in hell. Grandpa explains why animals need food for energy, while Caillou hunts down a squirrel who had the misfortune of crossing the 3-year-old psychopath. Grandpa tricks Caillou into eating his vegetables by acting like a bear and telling him his peas and carrots are actually bear food. Caillou's grandma then brings out a plate of cookies and Caillou swipes them all for himself like the greedy little whore he is. Let's review. Caillou refused to eat his vegetables and tried stealing cookies behind his parents' back. He ditched his parents to go to the park with his grandpa, where he scared the crap out of a poor little squirrel. He only ate his vegetables after getting tricked by his grandpa and reverted to his old ways the second a plate of sweets was put in front of him, which will likely screw up his eating habits for years to come. FU Caillou. Caillou's mom is trying to do her taxes when the bald-headed bitch boy strolls in to pester the crap out of her. He tries to help, but ends up making a mess of her receipts. Caillou's mom tells him to go bother his father instead. Caillou finds his dad fixing the washer, only to have it blow up in his face. Caillou wants to play with the bubbles when his dad tells him to go bug Grandma instead. Grandma puts Rosie down for her nap when Caillou comes in screaming as if his grandma isn't 2 feet in front of his face. Rosie gets woken from her nap, prompting Grandma to tell Caillou to fuck off. Caillou is so toxic, even his cat wants nothing to do with him. Caillou sulks back to his room, where he decides to play with himself. Later, the grown-ups rush up to Caillou's room to make sure he hasn't burned it down, only to find him playing with his mountain of dinosaur toys. Let's review. Caillou managed to piss off nearly every adult in his family, all because he wanted to play. He made things worse for everyone in the house and discovered that only inanimate objects can tolerate his presence for more than 5 minutes at a time. FU Caillou. Caillou is having his daily toy orgy when his mom calls him down for chocolate pudding. Caillou's mom scolds him for leaving his toys on the stairs, especially since she already told him not to do that. She tells him to put away the toys, and Caillou takes his sweet time going up the stairs. Caillou is moments away from delicious pudding when his dad calls him out for leaving even more toys in the driveway, which again, Caillou was previously told not to do. Caillou goes back to his pudding when it turns out the bitch left even more toys in the bathroom. How many damn toys does this kid have? His dad cleans up the mess and finds a smelly rubber duck in the toilet, which can only mean Caillou was bathing in the toilet water with the other pieces of shit. Caillou finally gets to chow down on room temperature pudding when his mom suggests giving some of his older toys to Rosie. Caillou begrudgingly agrees to give up 1 toy. Instead of giving all the unused toys to charity, Caillou's dad makes a big-ass toy box for his son so he can hoard all his menial possessions for the rest of his life. Let's review. Caillou left his toys all over the house even though he already knew he wasn't supposed to. He tried to avoid cleaning up in favor of chocolate pudding. And instead of punishing their son, Caillou's parents rewarded his untidiness by making sure he never has to give up any of his toys ever. FU Caillou. Caillou is terrorizing his cat with his toy cars when his dad invites him to help wash the car. Caillou proceeds to sit in the car while his dad does all the work. Caillou imagines driving a fast car by himself, God help us, when he honks the horn and causes his dad to spray all over himself. Instead of apologizing, Caillou laughs in his dad's face. The two dry off the car, and the family heads to the beach for a picnic. Caillou asks his dad if he'll teach him how to drive. His dad says yes, after a very long pause where we can only assume he was envisioning just how much damage the pint-sized terror could do with an actual automobile. Let's review. Caillou became obsessed with cars and turned it into his whole personality. He put off his chores to play pretend and caused his dad to get all wet. He gave his dad a reason to worry when he said he wanted to drive a real car, which will only make the roads way more hellish for everyone else. FU Caillou. Caillou is going to daycare for the first time, and the ankle biter refuses to leave his mother's side.
No, I don't want you to go, Mommy.
Caillou is shocked to see kids his own age with hair and chooses not to talk to any of them. Caillou is playing with blocks when Leo steals all of them for himself, leaving the bratty baby to cry out for his mommy. Clementine takes pity on the poor boy and shows him how to make arts and crafts. Clementine and Leo make the foolish mistake of becoming Caillou's friends as the maladjusted meathead spills paint all over the floor. The trio gets so invested in their crafts, Caillou blows off his parents when they come to pick him up. Ungrateful bastard. Let's review. Caillou had a full breakdown the first time his mom took him to daycare. He refused to play with the other kids until they took pity on him, forming a friendship that will likely fall apart the moment the two realize just how terrible Caillou is. FU Caillou. Caillou dreams of joining the circus as a lion tamer, while most of us dream of feeding Caillou to a lion. Caillou is excited to go to the circus with Daddy. He gets dressed all by himself and ruins half his clothes in the process. Caillou's father tells his son he did a good job, because Daddy is a blatant liar. He reminds Caillou they aren't going to the circus until tomorrow. Caillou refuses to believe he got the date wrong and has the mother of all meltdowns.
No, it's today. I got all dressed. It's today.
He breaks his toys and flails on the ground until Daddy tells him to cut that shit out. Turns out, all of his bitch crying woke Rosie from her nap. Caillou is still pissed off as he doesn't get that he only needs to wait one more day to visit the circus. Daddy tries to soothe his son's rage by turning breakfast time into Caillou's personal circus. Caillou tries to join in on the fun, but only makes things worse by dropping eggs and burning the toast. Daddy burns his hands on the toast, and instead of helping, the psychotic 3-year-old bursts out laughing at his father's pain and suffering.
You sicken me.
The two make their own circus parade, where Caillou wakes his mom with his non-stop pan banging. Caillou invites his mom to be in the parade. Caillou's mom says fuck that and goes back to bed. And while we don't see the family's trip to the circus, we can only assume Caillou's parents abandoned him there with the other freaks. Let's review. Caillou turned into a whiny little bitch because he didn't know how calendars work. He refused to calm down as he spent the whole morning breaking his toys, disturbing his sister's sleep, and screaming at his father. Instead of grounding his son for the rest of his miserable little life, Daddy turned breakfast into playtime in a feeble attempt to keep Caillou's chaos at bay. Daddy's efforts were rewarded with a messy kitchen and second-degree burns, because God is forever punishing him for bringing this little bald bastard into the world. And even when Caillou finally calmed down, he woke up his mom with his loud-ass pots and pans, proving once and for all Caillou doesn't need to go to the circus, he needs to go to counseling. FU Caillou.
Is there a cartoon you want me to talk about? Patrons who join my $10 tier can pick which shows I cover on It's Just a Cartoon. There's a limited number of slots available, so sign up now.